Hi there, and welcome to the Melody Music Studios interview series, where we get to know our teachers a little bit better. I'm Ashley. Today I'm here with Brandon. Brandon, thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Of course, not a problem.
Good. So, Brandon, my first question for you is, can you tell us what instruments do you teach?
I teach guitar, bass, piano, banjo. I can teach dobro. That's about the limit of which I'd be comfortable teaching. Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a handful right there for sure. And what age groups and what levels would you say that you teach mostly?
Right now, it's mostly younger kids from ages 10 to I think my oldest student right now is 15 or 16. But I've taught, all the way up to 65.
Where are you located? Where can students find you if they'd like to take lessons?
Yeah, I'm located just north of Nashville in a town called Gallatin, Tennessee, 20 minutes north of town.
Who are your musical inspirations?
I'm a guitar player primarily. That was what I first started on. My dad was a pedal steel guitar player, so I always grew up around a lot of country music in the house, and heard this guy named Brent Mason playing on some Alan Jackson song. I heard a solo in that song, was like, okay, I've got to learn how to do that. So Brent Mason's probably my number one. Vince Gill's number two on my list. I have a huge list of influences. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So what's your favorite part about being a music teacher? What do you love the most about it?
Well, I mean, passing on my knowledge is the things that I know is kind of self-fulfilling. I don't know. It feels good. But then again, too, it also forces me to kind of go back to the very fundamentals on things that when I first learned, back to the fundamentals. It's kind of fulfilling just to go back and constantly starting from the foundation up again. It's nice.
Do you have performance anxiety? And if so, what advice would you give someone who also suffers from it?
I wouldn't call it anxiety, or it might be anxiety that I just kind of like channel into excitement. I'm always excited. I mean, I play for a living, so I'm out 4 days a week at least going on stage, and I never lose like that excitement. So I think if you have performance anxiety, I think the best way to deal with that is kind of like a mind over matter situation, and realize that it's not necessarily the sense of you might fail, rather than it is you're just excited to be able to go perform, and because it is a lot of fun, and the more you relax, the better you're going to do, and then that kind of takes you at ease. Yeah.
That's great advice. Yes. My next question is, what are strengths or qualities that you have that have made you a successful music teacher?
I never grew up with lessons, and that could be either a positive or a negative. I get really invested in like, okay, I can start you on the right path in the right direction and reduce the amount of gaps that are in your journey as far as learning an instrument. So I'm very patient. I understand I can still remember what it was like being, 12 years old and trying to sit still. So it's like I understand some things. I still remember that. So patience, and I just enjoy giving information to people and seeing it click on their face. And it's like, okay, I've got this. Absolutely.
It happen in real time when our students get it. And we're like, that's it. There we go.
I finally got through.
Yeah. Exactly. My next question is, what do you love most about music? And I'm sure there are, hundreds of things, but what do you love most about it?
I've just always grown up around. It's always been around. Like I said, my dad was a musician. It was on more than the TV. It's just one of those things I've always been around. And when it's not around me, then I'm uncomfortable. So it's one of those things that it's part of my life, and it's just, it turned into a passion, and can't explain why, but rolling with it.
Yeah. In terms of performances that you've given yourself, what has been your favorite experience so far?
It would be 2017. I just moved to Nashville, and I'd got my first road gig. I was in a tour bus. I was fresh out of music school, was in town, 3 weeks, got a call for a bus gig, and I was like, awesome. They're like, 90-minute set, this is great. I was like, okay, cool. I'm trying to learn this material, and I've got a week to learn 90 minutes without charts on stage or anything like that. Had to be, by memorization. I had a week. And I get a call, and they're like, oh, and I don't know if we told you, but we're opening for 3 Doors Down. And I was like, okay, as if the pressure wasn't high enough. This is awesome. But yeah, I just went out there, and it was in Florida, and my parents, who lived in Ohio at the time, they didn't even tell me, and they just flew down and got into the show. And I mean, there was 5,000 or 6,000 people there probably. And somehow during our opening slot, I just happened to look off to my left, and in like these bleacher stands, I saw both my parents sitting there, and that was just like mid-song, my mind was blown. I was like, "What are they doing here?" But yeah, that being my first like real gig that I ever had, that's probably my favorite, just because it couldn't have been much more grand than that for a first gig in town.
Yeah, that sounds like a great memory. A really great memory. Yeah, that one I'm sure you'll remember for a while.
I will. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much again. We're going to sign off for today. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.